It was Albert Einstein who said, "The hardest thing in this world to understand is the income tax." In this lesson, we're going to express tax schedules algebraically, and we're going to compute federal income taxes using a tax table and tax schedules, all to answer the question, who pays taxes? Before we get into it, let's make sure we're ready for this lesson by looking at warm-up number 2. Determine x given by the following clues. X is an integer. X is greater than negative 17. X is less than negative 10. 3x is less than negative 45. 2x is greater than or equal to negative 32. So the first thing I guess we would do is solve these two where we have a value. So if we divide both of these by 3, we're going to get x is less than negative 15. And if we solve this one by dividing both sides by 2, we get x is greater than or equal to negative 16. Knowing that it has to be less than negative 15, this does give us a starting point. It has to be greater than negative 17, so that means its only option here is negative 16. Now that does fulfill the requirement that it is negative or less than negative 10 and that it is both greater than or equal to negative 16. We find that x is negative 16. Now let's take a look at a problem that you will be able to do by the end of this lesson. The IRS includes a tax schedule for information purposes only. For taxable income of $100,000 and above, taxpayers must use the tax worksheet. Here is a portion of the worksheet for married taxpayers filing jointly. Calculate Maria and Don's tax using Section B worksheet. The thing to remember is that Maria and Don in example 2 had a taxable income of $135,900. Maria and Don's taxable income of $135,900 is at least $100,000, but not over $168,400, as indicated in the first line of the worksheet. To calculate their taxes, they enter the taxable income in that line of the column. Column B asks them to take 22% of their income, and this is multiplying their income of $153,900 by 0.22 to get $33,858. Column D says to subtract $8,283 from the amount that was just calculated. This is going to leave us with $25,575. Maria and Don owe $25,575 in taxes. This agrees with the amount they computed using the tax schedule. Imagine how much money it would take to run your city, state, and federal governments. Where does this money come from for law enforcement, military defense, and national security, health research, social programs, space programs, and other government programs? Taxpayers. There are many different types of taxes. The tax collected based on the value of the property you own is the property tax. A tax collected based on the value of items you purchase is sales tax. A tax collected on the amount of taxable income is an income tax. Your tax is the amount of money you pay to the government. It is the price you pay to benefit from government services. Federal taxes are collected by the Internal Revenue Service, or IRS. Although people don't like to pay taxes, they are required, and people realize taxes are necessary. You report your taxable income on a form called a tax return. Your filing status is a description of your marital and family status on the first day of the year. You must indicate your filing status on your tax return. The choices for filling out your status are single, which is an unmarried taxpayer; married filing jointly or qualified widow or widower, married people who fill out one tax return together, or a widow or widower who meets the qualification outlined by the IRS. Married filing separately is married people who file 2 separate returns. Head of household is a special filing status for certain unmarried taxpayers who support people in addition to supporting themselves. Your annual tax changes as your annual income changes. To find the tax on your taxable income, you use a tax table or tax schedule. Tax tables are easier to use than a tax schedule, but with a little algebra and the understanding of the mathematical notions, you can master the use of tax schedules. Here we're going to learn how to use tax tables, tax schedules, and tax worksheets to compute your taxes. Suppose someone told you, I'm thinking of a number that's greater than 19 and less than or equal to 51. The information given to you is known as a constraint. A mathematical constraint is a limitation on the set of outcomes. There are many kinds of constraints used in mathematics. In this lesson, we're going to be introduced to the constraints that are stated in the form of inequalities. These constraints are known as inequality constraints. Examine three representations of the constraint stated at the beginning of this paragraph. A number is greater than 19 and less than or equal to 51. Let x represent a number. Then x is greater than 19, and x is less than or equal to 51. The compound inequality, as shown here, contains two inequalities that are separated by the word and. The separating word can also be or. Here, the word and is removed, and the two statements are compressed into one. 19 is less than x, less than or equal to 51. The verbal compound inequality and interval notation all represent the same set of possible numbers. These notations are used to represent taxable income intervals in this entire lesson. Now let's compute federal income tax using the tax table and a tax schedule. Ron is single. After completing the IRS tax form, he calculates his taxable income is $51,482. The instructions tell him to use a tax table to determine his taxes. How much does Ron owe in taxes? Tax tables list the tax for an income interval. Examine the portion of the tax table as shown to the right. Notice that the heading of the two columns reads at least and but less than. The first row is used by taxpayers whose taxable income is at least $51,000, but less than $51,050. Let T represent the taxable income. Using compound inequality notation, this can be expressed as T is greater than or equal to 51,000 and T is less than $51,050. This can be represented using interval notation as this can also be represented using interval notation of 51,000 is less than or equal to T less than 51,050. Ron's taxable income of $51,482 is at least $51,450, but less than $51,500. Look across the line until it intersects with the column titled Single. Ron owes $7,183 in taxes. Let's check our understanding. If R represents Ron's taxable income, express his tax interval as an inequality using interval notation. Well, we know the least number is 51,450. Now, this is less than or equal to his number, since this is the dollar that it stops at. And it does not touch, but comes right up to 51,500. Now, let's express tax schedules algebraically. Maria and Don are married taxpayers filing a joint return. Their combined taxable income is $153,900. The IRS offers a tax schedule so that the taxpayers can calculate their tax. Use the tax schedule below for married taxpayers filing jointly to calculate Maria and Don's tax. Maria and Don's taxable income is over $78,950, but not over $168,400. If T represents their taxable income, this can be expressed by the interval $78,950 is less than or equal to T less than $168,400. They should use the information on the third line to determine their tax. Their tax is $9,086 plus 22% of the amount over $78,950. So their tax is equal to $9,086 plus 0.22 times 153,900 minus 78,950. So when we calculate this, we can find that their tax is $25,575. Now, let's check our understanding. What is the taxable income would yield a tax exactly $28,765? Starting out, we can see that $28,765 is a tax that would be paid plus a 24%. If they paid out $28,765, this would be equal to the $28,765 plus 0.24 times how much they earned X minus the lower number of 168,400. Now, I would say it's fairly obvious that with these two being equal to each other, then X must be equal to 168,400 exactly. They just made it into that new tax bracket. The IRS includes a tax schedule for information purposes only. For taxable income of $100,000 and above, taxpayers must use the tax worksheet. Here is a portion of the worksheet for married taxpayers filing jointly. Calculate Maria and Don's tax using Section B worksheet. The thing to remember is that Maria and Don in example 2 had a taxable income of $135,900. Maria and Don's taxable income of $135,900 is at least $100,000, but not over $168,400, as indicated in the first line of the worksheet. To calculate their taxes, they enter the taxable income in that line of the column. Column B asks them to take 22% of their income, and this is multiplying their income of $153,900 by 0.22 to get $33,858. Column D says to subtract $8,283 from the amount that was just calculated. This is going to leave us with $25,575. Maria and Don owe $25,575 in taxes. This agrees with the amount they computed using the tax schedule. Let's check our understanding of this. Davida and John have a taxable income of $172,675. Use the married filing jointly worksheet from example 3 to determine the amount for columns A and C. What is their calculated tax? Well, we know that we're going to fill in the $172,650 in the line over $168, but not over $321. This means we're going to take $172,657 and multiply it by 0.24 to get $41,442. We are then going to subtract $11,651 to get $29,791. Let's extend our understanding of this a little farther. Chase has a taxable income of X dollars. The amount X is over $408,200. but not over $612,350. Express his tax algebraically. Well, according to the tax table, he's going to be paying 35%. So we're going to take 0.35 and multiply that by the income to get a number. But then it tells us to subtract $49,613, giving us our expression.